Think back to 1968. You pull into your local station, feeling the heavy steel of that solid car door as you put it in park. Before the engine is off, you hear that familiar ding as tires roll over the hose. Almost instantly, a young guy in a crisp uniform is standing at your window. You didn't have to lift a finger. He pumped the gas, washed your windshield, and checked the oil as a standard courtesy. Then came the best part, settling up. The mechanical numbers would clatter and spin, stopping around $5 for a completely full tank. At roughly 35 cents a gallon, you handed the attendant one bill and got change back. Today, that experience feels like a distant dream. We pull up to a glowing screen, pump our own gas, and watch as the digital meter ticks past $70, $80, or $100. The numbers detached from the world we remember. It's easy to look at that 35-cent price and think things were universally easier back then. But raw numbers on a vintage sign deceive us without the surrounding economic context. We have to look at relative purchasing power, what a dollar actually meant to a working family at the time. This chart maps out the 1968 median family income of $8,600 a year and compares it directly to the amount that family spent on gasoline. When you look at the total income, keeping the tank full takes up a noticeable portion of earnings. A big part of that expense came down to the cars themselves. We loved those massive, heavy steel land yachts, but they were incredibly thirsty. Many classic V8 engines only got 10 to 12 miles a gallon. You bought 35-cent gas, but you bought a whole lot of it. This pie chart isolates a 1968 paycheck, revealing the percentage dedicated entirely to buying gasoline. It was a consistent drain on the household budget. Watch as we adjust these values for today's income and efficiency. The slice representing fuel costs stays remarkably consistent. That 35-cent gallon is a wonderful memory, but it doesn't tell the whole story. The price shifted because the value of our wages, our nation's currency, and vehicle mechanical efficiency all moved in tandem over the decades. Stations began phasing out the uniformed attendant as profit margins on fuel started to tighten. The rise of the self-service pump marked the moment station owners could no longer afford to wash your windows for free. Behind the scenes, 4 invisible forces were driving prices upward. The first is 50 years of baseline inflation. As the money supply expanded and the cost of living rose across the board, the dollar's buying power naturally diluted, requiring more dollars to buy the same gallon of fuel. The second force was the globalization of oil. In the early days, American gas came largely from American wells. But as demand grew, crude oil became a commodity traded on a global market, with prices dictated by international demand. We felt the weight of that global market in the 1970s. Because our local pumps were tied to international events, conflicts thousands of miles away dictated whether we could drive to work. We spent hours in lines, hoping the pumps wouldn't run dry before we got to the front.
Those crises permanently broke the old pricing structures. The cost of a gallon was pushed right up to the 99-cent mark, a number most stations hadn't even designed their signs to display. Once prices crossed that dollar threshold, they never looked back. The third force is taxation. Federal and state taxes are baked directly into the price you see on the pump. These cents per gallon act as a user fee, funding the maintenance of the local roads, bridges, and interstate highways we drive on every day. Finally, there are environmental regulations. Refining fuel to meet modern clean air standards adds manufacturing costs, but it also cleared the heavy, hazardous smog that used to hang over major American cities. This infographic of a single gasoline droplet shows exactly where your money goes today. A modern $100 fill-up covers more than the fuel itself. It's paying for global trade routes, the upkeep of our interstates, and the cost of keeping our city air breathable. We can't travel back to the days of the 35-cent fill-up, but as modern drivers, we have access to tools that our younger selves could never have imagined, giving us new ways to manage the cost. Remember driving across town just to see if the station on the corner was a few pennies cheaper? Today, smartphone apps like GasBuddy do that work for us. They use real-time data to pinpoint the cheapest gallon in a 5-mile radius, acting as a scout for your wallet. Then there are the loyalty programs.
By linking your grocery store rewards card to your gas tank or using senior discounts at major chains like Exxon or Mobil, you can consistently shave off significant cents per gallon. It takes 2 minutes to set up, and the savings compile automatically every time you fill up. The biggest defense we have, however, is the cars themselves. The heavy steel and massive V8 engines have been replaced by advanced aerodynamics and hybrid technology. Today's vehicles regularly achieve 40 or even 50 miles to the gallon. For many retirees whose daily driving consists of shorter, local trips, a hybrid vehicle is uniquely advantageous. The electric battery handles the low-speed local driving, meaning you visit the gas station far less often than you ever did in 1968. Modern engineering is an effective shield against modern prices. The American road trip has changed over the last 60 years. The scenery, the cars, and certainly the prices are different. We may miss the friendly attendant and the handful of change it took to fill the tank, but when you factor in how much further a single gallon takes us and the comfort of today's vehicles, the trade-off comes into focus. Think back to your own starting line. Think about the day you brought your very first car home, the smell of the interior, and the feeling of freedom when you pulled out of the driveway. I'd love to hear about it. Head down to the comments and tell me the make and model of your first car and exactly what a gallon of gas cost the day you bought it. Thanks for taking this drive with me.